Hey folks. So lately I've been fielding a lot of questions about what is the best way to send data from Launch into AEP. Now, the answer isn't as simple as you might think. With Adobe Analytics, you would use the Adobe Analytics extension and set variables and then send your beacon, maybe clear variables. With AEP, it's a little bit different. You are compiling an XDM object. And that's where a lot of the confusion starts, is how do I compile that XDM object without creating hundreds of data elements, or how do I simply avoid using custom code? Well, let's take a look and figure out what is the most efficient way today to send data from the Web SDK extension into AEP. And I mention extension because we're not going to use custom code. So we're starting off with a blank slate in Launch. You'll see that I don't have any rules set up. I have one data element set up for the sake of an example. And I have two extensions installed, Core and AEP Web SDK. The first thing we want to do is create a template data element. And by that, I mean this will include data that will be sent with every single server call that's sent to AEP. So let's go ahead and do that. XDM template. XDM object. We'll select the schema under web page details. And I'm going to send the name of the page with not just every page view, but every interaction that someone makes on the website. So I'm going to set this name as page name, and let's go ahead and save this and build it. So we have our XDM template data element. Next, we're going to create a variable. And I'll explain what a variable is in just a little bit. But I want to show you what the process looks like. So when you're doing this and you see what I see, it doesn't look abnormal. And we're going to do the same thing here. And let's look for my website schema. And let's go ahead and save this to our library. Oh. All right, and the third data element that we're going to add is something called a merged object. So we're going to say merge template with variable. And this is under the core extension. We'll click merged objects, select XDM template, add another XDM variable, and let's go ahead and save and build. All right, so we created 3 data elements. One is the XDM template, which is you going in and modifying the XDM object, adding in stuff that you want sent with every single server call. The XDM variable, which you map to a schema, but you don't modify the XDM object. And then finally, merge template with variable. This data element merges the XDM template with the XDM variable. Let's build a server call. Let's say for page, let's say page view. Under events, we'll just say this triggers on DOM ready. We're going to add an action with an action type of update variable. And this maps to that XDM variable data element. Now, think about this XDM variable as something like set vars for Adobe Analytics. With the Adobe Analytics extension, you're probably used to setting 2 or 3 actions. One set variables action, one send beacon action, and maybe a clear vars action. So with AEP, it's a little bit different. Since we're mapping everything into an XDM object, it's not quite the same as setting, let's say, an s.prop, s.evar like we're used to. Instead, what we're doing is we're updating this variable that we built. And since this is a page view, I want to set a metric that increments the page view. And if I set this on the global object, what would happen is it would increment a page view with every single action. And I don't want that. Instead, I only want to increment it when a person loads a page. So I'm going to open up web page details, and page views, and value, input 1. And let's keep those changes. And then what we'll do is add the send event action under type. We'll do, I always get a little, oh, here we go, page view. And we will send the merged template with variable data element as the XDM object. So what's happening here with this merge is it's merging that variable that we just customized in the previous action with the template. So it's saying this custom stuff, I'm going to smush it together with the global template. This keeps us from having to create one data element for every single XDM object we want to send. And it keeps it a little bit more efficient. Well, I guess I should say a lot more efficient. And once I save this to my library, I'm going to build it. And boom, we're done. But let's do one more example in case this didn't quite sink in. So we're going to do a click event. So I'm going to add another rule, click on button. And let's pretend we want to use the CSS selector to track clicks on every single link. I'm going to add an action here for AEP Web SDK. Remember, update our variable. And so remember, with our global template, we're not just sending the default information that's kind of prepackaged with every server call. We're also sending the page name. Now, obviously, in your case, you're probably going to be sending quite a bit more than just the page name, but for the sake of example, that's what we're sending. So under web interaction, link clicks, value 1. And maybe I want to add a name to this. We're going to call this generic link click. Keep changes. Now, finally, we want to send that event. Web interaction link clicks, and same process, merge template with variable. Boom, done. Save and build. That's it. So you can see the process is relatively easy, except it's not super well documented. And that's because there are 100 ways to do one thing. But if I had a recommendation in how I would send data into AEP from launch, that would be how I would do it. Now, everyone's business is different, and you might have a use case where this doesn't make sense. And there's probably a better way to do this. And, you know, I'm not going to lie, I kind of wish the extension would get a bit of a facelift and maybe something a little bit more linear, so folks don't have to second guess how they're implementing AEP on their website. But it was designed to accommodate a lot of different use cases. And the point of this video is to address 95% of use cases. Now, you might be in the 5%. I don't know. AEP is still so new that we haven't quite hit all of the use cases to know for sure what's going to be the best for you long term. But I'm very confident that this methodology is the way you should do it today. So Thanks for watching, and I hope you found this helpful.